Hello again, this time with a small terrain building video. So I recently visited the Spielmesse in Germany. It's a small board game, it's the biggest board game convention I think there is. And I decided to buy a new gaming mat. So I already owned this small one, it's Kill Team sized, and the new one is double the size, it's 44 by 30 inches I think. The idea was to play small AOS games, small 40k games, Star Wars Legion, maybe some bigger Kill Team games on it. And I think this purple Mars tone fits every universe in some way. And it all depends on the terrain, so the terrain makes the setting. So what I had in mind is to build some terrain that fits like a Kill Team, so the 40k setting, but also could be used for Star Wars Legion in the future or other Star Wars board games. To start out this project, I cut out the footprints of the buildings that I had in mind on cardboard and placed them around on the gaming mat, just to see if I was happy with the layout, just to see if there were too many or too few buildings. And I pressed them around a bit, played around with it, and just got a feel for what I was doing. I oriented myself around this Star Wars bunker I built a while ago, just because it really fits the size of Star Wars Legion and 40k, and I was quite happy with the dimensions, and also to maybe fit it within this setting as well. And the dimensions of the bunker were already taken from the Octarius Kill Team terrain set, so everything really fits together. I would highly recommend to start out with a few sketches of the buildings you want to build. It helps visualizing the forms, it helps visualizing your idea, what you need, what you want, and it really helps in the building process if you get lost, if you get stuck, just to orient yourself back with the original idea and the original intent you had for the building. If you are confident enough in your idea and in your process, you don't really need to sketch out all these buildings. I just like to sketch, so I did a small sketch for every building I wanted to do, but keep in mind you're not creating a fixed rule set for yourself with these. You can go back and mix a few ideas, mix a few elements from another building into the building you are doing at the moment, and that's also what I did. So the sketches don't have a lot of details, the details will come with the process. This is just to have something to lean back on, just to have something to get your ideas flowing, to have a nice process, and it's something I like to do. So here's the building I'm going to do in this video. It's a garage. So while sketching and building, I had the gameplay in mind, and the idea for this building was to allow gameplay inside of it and on top of it. So I went with a real flat surface on top with few details and no details in the inside, and these two slanted surfaces in front with halfway open garages, so you can place the minis inside and outside, and also have some cover because of these slanted walls. As one does, I cut out the wall sections from thin cardboard and put them together with hot glue. The slanted wall sections I did from this foam core material. It's a bit thicker, it's half a centimeter thick, so it gives you a bit of a wall thickness, which is really nice. And yeah, I cut them out with 7.5 centimeters height and 3 centimeters width, and then just took the angle from that, and a few smaller ones with 2 centimeters width. For detailing the building, the wall sections, I just used thin cardboard. I really like these packaging materials because they are laminated with some plastic, and it's really nice because they don't soak up the paint as well as like paper does. So here's a quick example of a building I already did. So it's just a cardboard box with these foam core stuck on the outside to create some texture on the walls, and then as you can see, textured and with a few added bits and bobs from these thinner cardboard pieces. Here you can see how I glue these foam core pieces on. Just use hot glue as well and just stuck them on the outside, and this is to get like these angled sides. So here you can see the building I sketched out before. I just took the box, cut out these fronts, and used some more cardboard to clean up the edges around this foam core material, and stuck on a little piece of like these wavy cardboard paper as a garage. And here you can see me doing the detail work on the building. These are just thin cardboard cutouts, and I just cut out forms I liked. I oriented myself a lot on Star Wars buildings, on Star Wars artworks with these classic Star Wars forms. And because it's cardboard on cardboard or paper on cardboard, you can glue this on with a glue stick and it should hold up. Few tips to clean up the building is to do like an edge trim over surfaces you just stuck together, like the angles of the building like I'm doing here, and also to cut out really thin stripes of cardboard to trim the edges of these thicker cardboards, because as you know, these thicker cardboards have like this zigzag interior and it doesn't look great if the edges are exposed. So just take a thin piece, a thin slice of cardboard and stick it over. It's quite hard to glue it on, you have to be really patient with it, but it really does a lot for the building at the end, because if you don't do it, it just looks immediately like cardboard, and if you do it, it looks like a solid surface. And here you can see me doing just that, fitting those thin stripes on these exposed edges to clean them up. Here you can see the finished building with a few added details like pipes and wires, just to make it more interesting. I think I'm going to do a separate video on how to detail your buildings, because it's quite a big topic and you can use a lot of different materials you probably have at home. And the next step is just to texture the building, and I used dry mat. I think I use a lot of texture paste to try out, but dry mat from AK Interactive has like this nice subtle texture, so it doesn't look too rough. I also used Vietnam Earth from Amomic, and this has like a thicker, grainier texture, and it's really nice to do like this rough concrete look with both of them. So I decided on a few buildings I added this rougher texture around these structural parts to simulate a rougher material, and for the buildings I tried to use this dry mat just to have this subtle facade texture on them, and this really makes it look interesting if you paint them later on, because it just takes a dry brush really well and it makes everything look more interesting. And then I just Mod Podged everything, so this is just like something like white glue works as well. I didn't thin it at all, I wetted my brush in between and then just painted the whole thing. Here I'm doing before the texturing. I highly recommend doing it after the texturing, just because these little sand pieces could flake off, and if you Mod Podge them, they will stick. And here you can see me wave around the finished building. I painted it with craft store black paint just to have a unified look on it to show in the video. I'm going to do a second part where I'm going to paint all the buildings when I'm finished with all of them, and I think I'm also going to do a video about detailing the buildings. And here you can also see the scale of the buildings with Star Wars miniatures and Warhammer miniatures, so I think it fits both scales really nicely. And that's about it. So I know this wasn't the most in-depth video about building these buildings, but I'm trying to do a few more parts on these. I'm quite new to this video thing and I'm a bit overwhelmed with all the information I need to collect to do a video like this. So yeah, this is just the first try to get the ideas across, and I hope you like it, and I hope you stick around for the next part where I'm going to paint them and detail the buildings. And that's it. Until then, thanks for watching, and as I said, I hope you stick around for a few more videos in the future.